Hello, Channel Automation podcast listeners. Welcome back to another deep dive into the techniques that convert leads. I'm your host, Casey Arias, and today I am joined by Zora Chase with Chasing Nectar. Thanks for joining in, Zora.
Hi, Casey. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and it's a pleasure to have you. So tell me a little bit about Chasing Nectar, and also, what's with the name? I was looking around the site and I saw hummingbirds and stuff. I'm kind of interested on how you came up with that.
Sure. So it's Chasing Nectar Fractional CMO Services. And sometimes I have to, in parentheses, that's Chief Marketing Officer Services. Okay, so the name was derived from my last name, Chase. And then my original OG partner came from a family of, the last name was Kern, actually. And they are the people that started Kern Nectar, the juices. So we kind of did this clever take on Chasing Nectar. And it sort of has these other meanings in terms of everybody we work with is chasing, the sweet spot between, their marketing and their sales. And, we're all looking for ways to make our business feel sweet and go after the good stuff, if you will, the yummy stuff, revenue.
That's so cool. And you don't usually find, this is no insult to anybody else, that we've had on the podcast or other businesses, but that we work with. But usually the names are just oh yeah, we came up with something that had really good SEO, but you got so much tied into yours. That's so cool.
I mean, and if you're marketers, you got to be a little clever and you got to be a little thoughtful. And I think just that alone says what we could do in terms of creativity. I hope it says something about us.
I completely agree. And that's the thing is a lot of people who don't have that creative twist on marketing, it's they'll just be okay, well, I need to hire somebody to do my marketing. This is my branding, but they don't consider okay, that's what you want to do as a business, but is that what your audience wants to see? Is that interesting? Does that make you stand out? So I appreciate that you have those thoughts in mind.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always a sucker for a tagline, a slogan, and just being in marketing for so many years, it's what makes people recognize and remember your brand. And remember not just your brand, but anything. So it might trickle down to, a sales initiative that we can help with. And I'm always coming up with a theme. This is what we're driving this month. Let's make a theme around it. And it sounds silly, but it sticks. It sticks in people's memories. We love to create packaging around it. And I think it helps the organization feel cohesive and help them with their business objectives. Yeah. So it's good. So it's been a lot of fun. We created a whole team of marketing experts. We specifically work with companies that are growth minded and they need marketing structure, but may not have the resources or they're not interested in hiring a full-time chief marketing officer. So what we do is we bring them on and they can tap into top level marketing experts and only pay a fraction of the cost, and be able to get top level talent. I gathered of people. I've been in the media business and worked for big organizations in media for, more than 20 years. So I was able to pluck the best people I could possibly find in different sectors, if you will. I have a B2B expert, I have an experiential marketing expert, I have an e-com expert, a lead generation expert. So depending on the type of company that we work with, I just love to line them up with the people that have experience at, big companies like Verizon or MS Communications or CVS. So we've worked with the top brands, collectively. And I think it really is well received by our clients and super fun.
You would think those really big brands would have their own massive marketing team, but yeah, it does make sense where there's maneuverability.
Yeah, no, they do. My team, they're veterans from there, and they know the sector type of thing, or we've worked with. I was at MS Communications and CBS, and I worked with Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch and Warner Brothers, and I had the privilege of working for a big media organization, and I was able to work with those brands. So it put me and then the rest of the team on kind of a different level where we've all been there and done that. So I was able to get a really great team together that said, yes, I want to work on a contracted basis instead of working full time for anybody. And it's all working out really well. Although, it's way more than a full time job, but that's when you put it all together.
Yeah, it could be
It's
challenging,
great.
but I mean, it also that goes to show you like how your leadership is like something that it's like people are like, I want to work with that person, especially coming from backgrounds like that. That really goes to show you how well you guys work together.
Yeah, it wasn't hard to assemble the team, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, everybody that we pick has to kind of understand that everybody we work with is a business organization first, and marketing has to just be the fuel to that business organization. So we don't want to work at a funnel and have our heads in the sand about like a bright, pretty, shiny logo, and we call it a day. Our beautiful website. So we are one of our mission. The mission statement would basically be to get people who are. I only work with people that understand marketing is a piece of the business growth plan, and if people choose us because we stay tuned into the growth goals of the company. So it's very holistic between sales and marketing. And I spent many, many years in sales. So I understand that the importance of, making sure that marketing is supporting sales, and that we understand what the need is and where we fit in. I don't want marketing to be a place of just a spend. I want it to be a place that fuels growth, not just a spend, section of the company.
Yeah, I do notice that in a lot of like bigger company settings, especially marketing is on its own island, sales is on its own island, the call center is on its own island. And that never makes sense to me because all of you guys are in, I say all of you guys as I'm my own marketing person too, but everyone's all within the lead generation and conversion space. So why wouldn't you work cohesively together? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been it's fun because you do get hired, and most CEOs have the notion of, this is my marketing person. They're going to create my logo and do research, and we do all of that research on colors that appeal to your ideal customer profile, and we build websites that make everything pretty. But we roll our sleeves up because it's I want the relationship to last. And the only way it lasts is if we get tuned into, are we a function of your business growth? Is marketing in line with business? There's a dotted line at all times. So yeah, so checking in with the CEO on a regular basis is super important. I have weekly meetings and provide reports, what we've done this past week, what are our goals for next week, very, very granular, actually. Because I think it's important for upper management to understand the why of what we're doing, and also for us to, pivot if we need to on what their goals are and where things are headed for the organization, and make sure that we're tuned into that, working towards helping bolster their objectives.
I wanted to expand on that a little bit when you're talking about meeting with the executives and the higher ups and talking about your plan. I know that when it comes to marketing, it completely depends on the person, like the business owner. But I know you're going to find the ones where it's like they want to be very hands off and they're like, you take care of it. I trust you. I'll just, unless I hear otherwise, I assume that you're doing good. How do you navigate the ones that are like, they don't meet with you as much, or like, are you still able to find the same level of success if it's all put on your shoulders?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I do have clients that say, I just want to meet once a month. But so what I do is I do a face-to-face once a month. And if they're not in town, it's a Zoom call face-to-face. And I provide a comprehensive monthly report. So, and I've had those clients that don't want to meet with you often. They're like, gosh, my last marketing agency didn't check in with me for 3 months. So they were on that set it and forget it mode. And I come in and just remind them that this is what we're doing. And I think it makes a difference. They realize that I care. So I hang on to clients for a very long time, even the ones that want to be a set and forget. I kind of tap on their shoulder every month and say, I've got your report. It's ready to, when are we meeting? And I give them a couple times to meet. And usually those people, I save them for Friday. My Fridays are a little light, and I know there's probably are too. So, and I'll meet them on a Saturday, whatever it takes. But it's important to be a part of the business organization. So, yeah, I will reel them in.
That's what you got to do sometimes. And I do find that the ones that are a little bit more hands-on is where you get those really awesome campaigns that take off really well, at least in my experience.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so much fun. I love dealing with the top management and hearing what is their passion and how I can, or challenges or problems. And sometimes they go, okay, this is a sales problem. I said, yeah, it's a sales problem, but you know what? I can help you with that. I can help your sales fix this problem. Like marketing can step in and be a service to whatever you think the issue is in sales. We can all conquer this together. And that makes it fun for me. I mean, yeah, it's all about, making them grow.
Well, one of the things that is, it works really well is when you are able to take that promotion or that campaign that you're working on and you're like, use this as a tool when you get into somebody's home. This is where we are all going to be aligned. Or people on the phone, you're like, hey, this is the campaign that we're running. These are what people are calling in with. If you see this phone number getting called a lot and people are coming in this way, then make sure to offer things within this campaign setting.
Yeah. And if you give people who are the front lines on the phones, on the sales department, if you give them more tools, it keeps them excited about the company. It keeps them in tune with what the need is on the upper management side. I recently created a contest for a company, and they had never had a sales contest before. And it was created during historically the slowest month of the year. And I was fortunate that management said, okay, let's put some cash behind this. And so it was really fun to create, daily winners, weekly winners, inter-office contests every week, and then great grand prizes at the end. And there are 4 different offices, and they said, gosh, it was really cool to see what the other people in the other offices were doing and to come together as one organization. I've only heard these people's names here and there, but now we're on a leaderboard together. And I know like the good people out there and the top people who performed in the contest, we all went to the Lakers and got a suite and went to a Lakers game. And it was, fist pumps all around. It was a really great experience for them. And they had never done anything like that before. So, this year we laid in some of that contesting just because it really did move the needle sales wise too. I mean, obviously it was just
Dude, I want to be in that contest. That sounds fun.
I know. We were giving out, undies every day. It was great. The HR people wanted to kill me. They're like, okay, we have to do this differently next year. But that's, I wanted to give people cash.
Yeah, I mean, you always got to wrestle with the budget and stuff. I get it. But I mean, even something little just to show like, hey, we want you to enjoy working here and you develop that culture, even something small, just to say like, hey, upper management knows you exist. That could be very motivating.
Yeah. And if upper management is saying, okay, we need more emphasis on XYZ, we need more emphasis on a call to deal ratio. It needs to improve. Let's make the contest based on that. So everybody is tuned into, okay, how many calls did I take and how many deals did I get? It needs to be 5%, it needs to be 10%, whatever the number is that, now all of a sudden we're all speaking the same language and they're motivated because we've given them a little extra motivation to hit those goals.
Good. I love that. I think that that's a good way to go about it. And I hope that people that are listening right now thinking about how to motivate their call center and their sales team, this is what keeps people around to your company. They're going to stay with you a little bit longer if you're going to be providing those perks for them working extra hard. It's very cool. And I like that you have that whole contest down. But yeah, don't let them talk you down too much for next year because they're going to notice the difference if it goes down too much, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have to do it again.
All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Earlier in the conversation, you were talking about like presenting content and talking about to the higher ups, like this is what we plan on doing. This is how this is performed. So one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on is content calendars versus adaptation to an audience response on a campaign. Because I know a lot of people's trigger responses are like, oh, this campaign is doing really, really well. Let's just continuously do this campaign. Let's keep pushing, pushing, pushing because I know that this one works. So when you have a content calendar where you are planning on having a theme every month or every week, and then suddenly you're like, it's time to switch gears, do you get pushback? Do you find that you get pushback on that? Like, what do you think is a good cadence for switching things up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because, in our ideal world, we all want to lay it in annually and stick to the content plan and just and go along the road that we planned. But as you and I both know, it never really works out like that. So I've had times where I've laid in the annual, but we've had some gray areas that we can fill in. Um, I do an annual, but then I kind of do a more solid quarterly. And then with the understanding that it has to be fluid. Although we want it to stick, it's crucial to lay down like content that will have a lasting impact on the business that is foundational to the business. We have to have wiggle room in other areas. So if the content has to adjust to marketing impacts that are going on, emerging markets or opportunities that we see, I'm all about switching gears. Like I never get too married to a particular content strategy because things happen in the world, and also you want to be relevant. Something's going down. Like, hey, Bitcoin EFT is all. It's all the rage this month. Let's talk about that. So it just depends on what's going on, and yeah, all of us remain flexible and let the content modulate with the changes in whatever the business ecosystem is. We don't expect anything to stay static. So yes, content calendar is something we do build and we do use as a guide. And then we take it from there, prioritizing. And I guess prioritizing and flexibility are the two keys there, and how they work together.
I like content calendars as a net where you're just like, okay, I don't have anything that's like a hot topic right now. Now we can fall back on this content. And I know that's stressed out some of my previous bosses, but that's really how it works. You have to be flexible, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always some, hashtag of the month or of the week or the day. There's always the fallback content. What are we talking about in the world today? Okay, we can talk about that too.
This one's fun. So there was a promotion that was very, very successful, and I have to be very careful not to name names, but it was one of my past jobs where they had it's the owner's birthday promotion, and it was a really good promotion. So good, in fact, that it completely dwarfed the other promotions, and they were like, oh man, this thing works really well. And then they brought it back again. And I was like, okay, so how many birthdays does this man have in a year? Because people are going to start catching on.
The owner's wife's birthday, the owner's dog's birthday.
It's his dog's birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same thing.
I know. Sometimes you walk into like a Nordstrom and go, how many half annual yearlies sales do we have here at Nordstrom? Like it's another half. Did we just have a half 2 months ago? Yeah.
I was literally watching a video on another person doing marketing recently, and they were like, I was at JCPenney's, and it was a JCPenney's second week of January sale, and they're like, that's not a thing.
It is today.
But it can be a thing if you make it a thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's always exciting to walk into a retailer and there's some sort of sales special going on. You feel like you're getting a deal. And that's just how shoppers are, right? That's the mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to buy into that psychology. And it is interesting because anytime I talk to people who are leading marketing experts, I feel like everybody kind of has a different background. Like, I hope you don't mind me asking, but what did you major in college?
I majored in communication studies.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I interned, like, my thought was I want to be an investigative reporter. So I had an internship at the local TV station I went to UC Santa Barbara. So I had an internship at the local TV station in Santa Barbara. And then I went to Washington, D.C. and worked for the press secretary and got to be in the press room for all the press conferences in the White House. And that was super fun. So super inspiring. But then somehow I was also selling ads for the school newspaper to actually make money. And then I decided I think I want to just keep going down the sales and advertising route because, I needed to make a living. So
That's how it goes. Well, oh my gosh, what a unique and amazing experience.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. We were just talking about, I just ran it. I just saw my roommates from Washington, D.C. and we remember like going to the White House lawn where we would wave hi and bye to the president's helicopters. And it was really fun. We lived on happy hours in Georgetown. That was pretty fun too. Being a White House intern has it's pretty fun time. Highly recommend.
Also, I can imagine, but I really can't. That's like so far from what I could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But it sounds like
what about you? What'd you major in?
Psychology. In fact, I was originally going to go into social services because I had a really big passion for people that had dementia or schizophrenia and bipolarism. Those are the things that I found most interesting, and kind of a minor in autism just because I dealt with a lot of children that had autism and then people all the way up past high school. And I really clicked with those people. They needed, it's one of those things where it's like, it's presented like a disability, but it really is just a completely different way of thinking. And I found that really fascinating. So I did a lot of biopsych, neurological studies, and I would have to kind of figure out the different ways of the brain, how that works. And then I got into a marketing job, and then I was not a neuroscientist or a psychologist, but it's one of those things where it's absolutely applicable because you do have to kind of put yourselves in the shoes of the people that you're marketing to. And I do find that that's a really big divide with businesses is you constantly have to be like, listen, I know that this seems like a great idea and it's going to like make your business shine. But if your audience doesn't care about your business right now, then you need to do what they want to see. You have to put your ego aside and you have to do what they want to see. So that's always a hard conversation, but
it is, but that's exactly what marketing is, right? It's the psychology of your buyer, and the companies do need to evolve to be that point where they are serving their customer and the customer need, and that's why I like being a CMO and being in the same room with the big decision makers, because what we see on marketing can affect an entire company, an entire organization. What we're seeing is the customers are asking for this. Can we, and you get to ask those questions. Can we shift? Can we do? And it's really fun if you have a receptive company that is willing to look at things a different way. And it's fun to uncover those things as a marketer, right? We get to find out.
You have to be investigative, just like investigative reporting.
Exactly.
So it works.
I guess so. You're right.
I always think about, when I think about people not necessarily wanting to appeal to the public, I think about Rick Astley, because he hates the song "Never Gonna Give You Up," his biggest hit. But when he goes on tour and when he performs and when he does these little silly commercials and stuff, that is what he does. He does "Never Gonna Give You Up." He hates it, but he knows that's what people want to see. And sometimes you better bite the bullet because it's like, if you're good at it, then do it.
Yeah, I know, right? And that goes for a lot of, like, have you ever been to a concert and the artist is only concerned about their new music? And it's like, oh, we're here for another reason. We want to see the oldies.
I've been to some of those concerts before where they're like, no, we're only performing our most recent album. And I'm like, people are not going to be happy after this.
Yeah, I went to a concert recently discovering a band that I never heard of. Is actually like that I've heard of, but I've never listened to. It was Old Dominion, which is a big country music band, and I'm not a big country music fan. So I downloaded from Spotify the set list and listened to that for 2 weeks, and it was the best concert I ever went to because I knew every single song and I didn't know anything else. So that's
I
the
did the
hot tip
exact
for
same
going
thing
to a
before I went
concert.
to the new concert, and yeah, that's the way to
Uh-huh.
do it. And it's funny because people are like, "Why are you doing a bunch of research before your concert? You're making this way too complicated." And I'm like, "I am telling you, I have expedited me having the best time when I go."
That is so
I
true.
think me
And
and
you
you
know
are very
what? It
similar.
speaks to, yeah, and it speaks to like preparation is the key for everything. Going to a concert, doing your work, working as a chief marketing officer or working as a podcast host, preparation is absolutely the key. Thank you for sending me the questions in advance.
You're welcome. Of course, I want to make sure that you know what I'm going to be asking. Sometimes I throw little curveballs out there. Speaking of something completely random that we haven't even brought up
Which I should be fine with.
I wanted to ask you, because the hot topic right now, of course, is like AI, and they're like, how are we going to make it so that way we are not getting trampled by AI? We want to still have our marketing people in here. We want to pay them a wage that makes sense, but it's like, can we switch over to this? Like, do we still need the same kind of people in there? And one of the things that I notice that really make marketers stand out, especially CMOs, is being able to predict traffic from search engines and traffic from social media. So how do you know and how do you present keywords that are working to direct the traffic? Because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I Googled my name and it hasn't gone up at all on the list. How can you prove that your efforts expediting SEO, search engine optimization, is actually paying off?
Well, we have a couple of tools that we bring in, like SEMrush, Moz, SpyFu. But generally, when we build websites or we start talking about content, we know what the keywords are that we're targeting. We know what keywords the competition is winning at. We know what keywords we want to go after. We know what keywords are viable to go after. A brand new website doesn't have domain authority. And it's not, if we go after all the keywords that that our competition already owns, it'll be a waste of our efforts in some ways. So what we do is we find keywords that we actually can compete with just to start getting there. And the domain authority happens over time, and you can't do anything about that. Google likes a website that has fresh content, likes a website that has been that is being used frequently, that has a lot of visits. Those things we can do, but we can't speed up father time, right? So what we do is we go after keywords that are viable, and we create blogs and content on the website that incorporates those. Like, we'll have one page of each page of the website is focused on one particular keyword. So and maybe AI can help. We can use AI to help create content. I mean, you brought up AI. AI. Yeah, I mean, we use the mechanics of these platforms to help us find the right keywords to go after. And maybe there's a little bit of an AI assist in some content, but what I've had blog writers that focus on, literally would try using like a chat GPT, and it just isn't the same. When a really good blog writer, and we have good blog writers for some of our clients, they are asking us questions about how we handle things in the company. They're getting more granular as a consumer really would, not as a bot would, right? And Google is picking up on that. So we try to stick with, like, we are talking about human beings. But yeah, AI can be an assist. Like, where I see it is in like QA, like quality assurance, and listening to calls, to be able to apply AI to that, and would save a lot of time, because it's very time consuming to have managers listen to phone calls that are recorded. So I'm all about that. I'm all about, like, let's make sure that the agents are saying the right things. What are customers asking about? Where are we getting stuck in the funnel of the customer journey? Those kinds of things AI can be super helpful with, but they don't replace people. You know, we've got to analyze it and make the actions based on the findings.
That was actually I talked to an absolute awesome tech expert. I did a couple podcasts with him, and even though he is very technical minded, we kind of talked about like AI as a tool at this time. Not to say like 5 years from now it's going to be something where we diverge between human and AI. It may become a blurred line, but right now it's a fantastic tool in order to, get you started on your content, or it's like you said, searching keywords. But when I read like a blog written by AI, and I know it's written by AI, I think of it like a high school essay. It's like, it almost feels like it's just getting the job done, but it's not getting into any of the depth of the conversation.
Exactly. Yes. In fact, I know a guy that runs an ad agency, and he put together his website with like 25 blogs in 1 week, and AI did every single one of them. Chat GPT did every single one of them. And he just said, I don't care. It got me started, and it got him started. So, hopefully he's not doing that for clients, because I don't think that's a really good strategy, but it's funny. People are definitely using it as a cheat sheet, and, skipping the line, if you will. But yeah, it's detectable, and I think Google detects it. I'm learning everything I can about AI because it is pretty cool. There are some things that I think we're going to be able to apply that just makes we get to think more strategically and not be so much in the weeds if we can have AI do some of that work. Like I said, the listening of calls, the QA, and that kind of thing.
I honestly think it's a good time saver.
Yeah, it's a time saver. I want that manager to be not listening to calls. I want them to be active around their floors and looking and helping salespeople as they are currently dealing with customers. Not sitting in an office listening to calls from yesterday. AI can do that for us.
Yes and no. And you know what? I am so tempted to get into the weed with that, but I won't. I won't go that way. Just because I was talking to somebody recently from Spectrum, and they were talking to me, and I was like, hey, listen, can you just transfer me to a rep because we're going in circles? And he's like, I'm a live person. And I was like, okay, sure. And I really thought he wasn't. And they're like, no, I'm a live person. And I was like, then why did you say this exact same line a couple of times? Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but I really need to get this done, and we're going in circles. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm required to say those lines because that's what the AI is searching for when they're judging me and giving me a point scale at the end of the day. And that's where it can go wrong.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And I was like, well,
like
sorry,
here they are hiring.
Before.
Yes, I mean they go to the effort of hiring a real agent, and the agent is basically should be a bot at that point. That's too bad. Yeah,
it's a shame though, because it's like I do understand, like, they want to hit all of these same points every single time, but gosh dang, that monotony must get really boring if you're a call center representative.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, even some I've heard some with even like really, really live human sounding people, and people catch on to the bot thing really fast, and it's just a bad look for a company. You have to be very careful on these things. It can backfire.
Agreed. I mean, part of what the experience is talking to a bot is, as long as they are able to help you get your thing done, then I don't care if I'm talking to a bot. That's fine with me. But if they are preventing you from getting a thing done, then you need to go in a different direction.
Yeah, completely.
All right, Zora. Thank you very much for joining in. Any last comments that you want to add in?
Not so much. Just kind of underscoring that, that Chasing Nectar kind of has that the years of experience and the specialties from this great team that we have, and any clients that we work with, they know the difference is that we're concerned about their business outcomes more than anything else. So it's fun to be able to work and help with the challenges. And marketing should be doing that for you. It should be a place where you're generating revenue from the marketing effort, not dumping money into marketing. So we have to always turn that paradigm around on itself and make sure that clients know the only reason you're calling us is because we're here to help you with your business, not here to take your money and make your website look pretty. You can do that too.
Yeah, you don't you don't want to just dump your money into somebody who doesn't care. So I appreciate that. That was such an elegant way to put it. I like that a lot. So that's going to be it for us today. Whether you love or hate what we talked about, we do want to hear from you. So comment or shoot us an email at hello@channelautomation.com. Also, all the information about Zora and Chasing Nectar is going to be available in the description if you want to hit her up as well. You also should subscribe to this podcast. It'll give you some good ideas on your own marketing, sales, and conversion efforts. And it's free. So if you want to continue to hear that information, definitely subscribe to us. And as always, make sure to keep that lead conversion high.